Now then, before I forget what I wanted to show you leading up to what we're going to do, remember I said we were going to connect and everything like that. I just wanted to sort of give you guys, get that out of there. I just wanted to give you guys kind of an idea. We were talking about print R and everything like that. Well, PHP has a lot of built-in variables that, or arrays, if you will, that we were looking at. We've already seen post, but I want to kind of show you, let's go to this. I want to kind of show you what is actually going into all of these different arrays or variables, whatever you want to call them. So there are a few of them actually, and we're going to be using a lot of them. This is not like one of those things I did with JavaScript or HTML where I was saying, here it is, but I don't really think I'm going to use it. We're going to use a lot of these, and let's just do a print F, or print R, I'm sorry, of each one. So if we do post, which we've already seen, ooh, we can't, it doesn't have anything, to it, huh? Really? There's nothing to it but what we put in. All right. Well, then it's not even an array. It's just a variable. Okay. Well, let's do an echo. Oh, because I have it in there. My fault. Okay. I was looking at the wrong thing. Hopefully you saw what I wanted to show you before I did. See, it's an array. There's nothing in it. We put whatever we want in it based on what we send to it. I was looking over here. That's why. Now there's also another one called get. And get is like that thing I was showing you with the forms. It's also just an array. Get, with post, it's when you send information over to something and you want to save it. Get is if you're taking that information. Now, unlike the forms, you don't need a get variable with a get form. You would never want to do a get form anyway. You would just use a get variable if you have to get something like a session, which is another one of these variables that we're going to be using especially. It says warning undefined variable because we have to actually define it. I mean, the reason why I'm doing a print R of this is because I want to show you what is in there, but all these variables, they're empty variables or empty arrays, and you can just put whatever you want in there. I'm pretty sure they have there's got to be one. Okay, let's try server. Server's another one. See, okay, here we go. Finally, this is what I was looking for. So if you look at the server variables, so we have get, post, we have session, we have server. If you look at the server variable, this is already pre-indexed. And as you can see, because it's based off of the sites that or the pages that we're using, it already has information that's set in there. But there's one specific that I wanted to show you, one pre-programmed index. So you have HTTP connection, HTTP host, local host. You could get all that. So if you were to say, like, you could echo out server and the index, let's do the index HTTP connection. So you can echo this out because it's just one singular index, and you would get keep alive. I don't know what the hell that is. That's the connection. Keep alive, I guess. You could do also, one that we're going to be using is HTTP self. Was that it? No, PHP self. It's been a while since I've done these. Is that it? Was it PHP self or was it PT? No, it is. Okay, it's PHP self. You see this? That's the index of this specific page. And the reason why that's important is because in forms, instead of having to put in a form all this, you could just put in a form server PHP self, and that would send it back. The form would then process on the page. So that's why the server variable can help you out, or that's how the server variable can help you out in that sense. And we can look at some other ones. There was, let's see, what was the other one? Let's take a look. Let's print R that again. Now again, print R is just for variables. Yeah, I mean you can use it as an echo, but you mostly would want it for variables. But you can see there's also system root, path extension, this, that, and the other thing, server software. Where's PHP self? I want to see if I can find it. Request time float. So this server array has all these pre-set indexes that you can use to your advantage. There is also cookie. Now I don't know if cookie. It does, okay. So you have Tracy session, CSRF token, and if you hit refresh, oh, it doesn't change, huh? I thought it would change. Really? It doesn't change, okay. But if you notice, the cookie has its own predetermined indexes as well. Now, I don't really want to get into it that much until we start using it. But the difference between what a session and what a cookie, what they are, is a means to save certain variables from one page to another. Now, with a session variable, you could save like somebody's username. This way, every time you go to a different page, you can keep referencing that current user from page to page to page. But a session will delete itself once you shut everything down, unless you tell it otherwise. But again, once you shut the session itself down, like you close the window, then the session's over and you have to start a new one. Cookie saves no matter what you do, unless you tell it to delete or you tell it to destroy itself. You always have a cookie. So when you see something that says accept cookies or whatever, what it's saying is the site itself that you went to has its own ways of saving data onto your server, and if you accept those cookies, then what you're doing is you're allowing them to just keep mining data onto your site and stealing data from your site. So never accept cookies unless I ask you to accept cookies. Because what they're going to do is they're more or less mining your data. That's one of the reasons why they ask. Some sites will ask to accept their cookies. That's kind of like, I don't want to say spyware, but it's like ads, just to keep sending you ads. It'll save for as long as they want it to save. Cookies save for as long as you tell it to save, whether or not you shut the server down. If you were to shut the server down, if you were to shut the site down, then you would destroy the session automatically. Doesn't matter how long you say. That's if you keep the server up. And you'll see what we're doing. You'll see what I'm talking about later on. But like I was telling you, the server and the cookie arrays, they have their own preordained indexes. Sessions and gets don't. There's a global variable, but it's not. I don't think it's a global. Let me see if there's. I know there's another one. I forgot what it was. I don't think it's global. This is going to be an error. Yeah, it's a warning because there's no. You have to define it, and the global variable looks like this. That is on the final. That is the. This is like a variable that you would define early on, or like in a file or something like that, that would be consistent throughout the entire site. That can't change. That's why you would use this. But what there's another one? The server session cookie get post. I think there's one more. And check it out. Let me just see. Not that. Where's the other one? Let's just. I just want to double check. Server request. Okay, there's one. There's one. They're called Superglobals, by the way. But request. And what is request? Request is what you're sending. That's just an array because we're not requesting anything. But request is when you. Oh wait, then there's another one. Response. Request is what you're requesting, what you're asking the server to do. And I'm pretty sure then there's a response. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong. Yeah, no, there's no response. But you have it, but again, like you see it here. Get, post, request, server, and cookie, and here they have files. Oh, files. Yeah, files are interesting. Files are interesting. We got to look at that. Because files, as I showed you in JavaScript, in PHP, they are different. And that's based on whether or not you load up a file. But they are matrices. They are multifaceted arrays. They have more than one value per. So you can have in fact, you can have an index that then has its own array of indexes, of sub-indexes. So that's good. And is your environment. Now and that's just another array. Again, a lot of these you can load up on yourself. You load up for yourself. But there are just a few that have predetermined indexes. So, those are just Superglobals. Again, they're in PHP. They're pre-programmed, so you can always use them however you need to use them and everything like that. Should we get into connections yet? Let me just see. We'll get started. So, if you wanted to, since we're talking about Superglobals, use some of that. If you wanted to connect to this server, and by the way, I have this open because I haven't done a PDO connection in a long time, so I just wanted to double check, and I have to double check myself 10,000 different ways from Sunday, so just forgive me. Let's go to our PHP admin. Okay. So if you wanted to connect to this, first off, we would have to make a database. All right. So let's make a database. I'm just going to call it tutorial so I know what I'm doing. I'll create. We have created a database. Now with that, we can create tables. Now this is all MySQL. MySQL is perfectly fine. It's perfectly safe. It's perfectly secure. There's nothing wrong with MySQL. MySQL is a Unix version of SQL. It's the same thing. Now you don't have to use SQL. You don't have to use MySQL. You can use Access, Microsoft Access. There are ways that you can translate PHP actions or whatever to Microsoft Access. You can use, and Microsoft Access is an offline and online database. A database is just anything that holds data. Excel could be considered a database, but I wouldn't use Excel. But Access, you can use Oracle, which is, I use SQL++. You can use pretty much anything that holds data. With PHP, PHP again is very malleable. You just got to tell it how to connect, and then you have to use the right form to do queries. But we're going to use MySQL. MySQL, again, like I said, is perfectly fine. You can use it for big sites. You can use it for small sites. I made a social network. It didn't go anywhere, but we were using MySQL. It's not a big deal. And we're going to be using MySQL, but in order to connect this site to MySQL, we need to have a connection. Now, originally it would be MySQL-I, which is MySQL improved, but now PHP uses what's called PDO. And PDO is, it reflects more of the object-oriented programming that we've been doing. Like with JavaScript, how we would get what we need and then put a dot and then get the functionality dot if we needed any more functionality or whatever within each function or within each object or whatever. PDO works the same way. But if you notice, we don't have dots. Like pretty much all the other programming languages use dots to signify further functionality and everything. PHP uses this arrow thing. So let's get rid of this. PHP uses an arrow like this to show when you're moving forward from one object to another, and the functionality within and what have you. Which again, 2 strokes as opposed to 1. Who cares? It visually looks better to me because you can see, especially when you put spaces in between, you can see how everything is kind of moving, how everything is kind of going further in as opposed to just dots and things sitting right next to each other. It makes more visual sense. And you'll see. By the way, just so you know, this is the same as this. But this can only be used for echoing something out. So we could do this. And it'll say ready to string conversion, whatever. Or, you know, undefined key, you know, whatever. But we can say that, and it would be the same as saying this. It's just a short, you'll see me doing that a lot with echo. It's just a shorthand version of the same thing. It's not, you can't do that with anything else. You can't do that with print R. It's, PHP only knows that as echo. So just remember that. Like we talked about echo and print R. Echo only does like 1 line. But I look like and I sound like I'm stalling. So let's just get into it, okay? So again, what we're doing here is we have to make, excuse me, a PDO connection. I just had breakfast, so pardon me. I have to make a PDO connection. And one way that I used to always do that, you make a page. And let's make in the practice area, let's make a folder called connection. Okay. And in here, we're going to make a new file called card.php. Okay. So open up your PHP. Now, since this page is strictly just a PHP connection file, whatever, we don't have to close it. You can close it if you want. That's fine. You don't have to. In fact, some people would say don't close it when you're just doing a PHP page with no HTML or anything like that. And in here, we're going to make ourselves some variables. So the first variable we're going to make is username. Let me think. No, I don't want to do that. Actually, I can. The username here is root. And the password, I forgot what we were doing that. Password I have is empty, so we'll just do that. You can hack into my XAMPP. Typically, XAMPP starts with root as your username and password is blank. So we don't, if we go back here, user root at localhost, there's no password. So in case you're not sure, and our DB name is going to be tutorial, and we're using MySQL, and the host is localhost, right? So as you can see here, what we do is we make a connection, and we'll call it con, and we go new, we make a new PDO, which is a PDO class, and within that PDO class, we put in parentheses, we got to tell it what we're going to do, and it's MySQLi, and then colon, which separates the host, and the host equals localhost, and then we go semicolon. That's like we're going to the next line. This doesn't look right though. And the DB name equals tutorial, semicolon. No, wait, we don't. Comma, I'm sorry. And then we go username, and we go password. You don't have to put it in there like that. You can just put the password, username in there. It's no big deal. You could just do like root in quotes. It's no big deal. But that doesn't look right to me. I don't know. Anyway, so now we're going to do what's called a try catch. Try catch is if it works, everything works. If it doesn't, it gives you an error message. And with the try, we're going to say try con. And if it doesn't work, we'll do a catch PDO exception. Is it spelled like that? Yeah. And we'll give it a variable E. And we'll just then, we'll die, live free or die. And that's the get message, right? I used to do this all the time and I forgot how to do it. I haven't done it in so long. That's the only problem when you're doing frameworks all the time. Yeah. I mean, this doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look right. Okay, so anyway. So we made the con variable, or the con object, which is a new PDO object. Does that like, seem clean to you? Like, does this look right? I don't know, I guess we'll find out. So we'll have the try. We'll try to connect, and if it doesn't work, we'll get an error message. So we'll save that. Now I'll go here, and as you can see, nothing happened. You know why? Because we didn't include it. And that's what I'm going to do in the next video. I'll see you then.